choice. You have to stay on it too. It's not like you can get off.
That's right. Okay.
Titus.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, sorry, I'm in my car, y'all. Sorry. But I was actually wondering, I'm trying to follow it along exactly what's actually taking place. So I'm not exactly understanding what we're talking about. Are we talking about grand juries and militias and what's the whole thing that's going down? Because I don't necessarily understand. There's been a couple times I don't understand what is the difference between the General Assembly, like what y'all are talking about, and what different places like different entities and organizations like tactical civics and stuff like that are talking about. And whenever I look at grand juries and stuff like that, now I do understand that, but if you do look at different Supreme Court rulings and stuff like that, you see that these grand juries, they don't have the power to they don't have judiciary power. And whenever you look at that, then what is really the thing if none of the findings are going to be recognized by the government? Because then
Okay, Titus.
if they wasn't recognized, then we
one
have
question at a time here.
Yeah.
Can we get one question at a time? You put about
Well,
four
we
of them
talked for
there.
a long time, so I got to say a lot because I
So,
want to make sure I'm understanding what's happening. If
okay, so there are 4 assemblies that have to be created to be government. There's always 4. There's a General Assembly that's to address the concerns and the business of the people. There is a General Assembly to address the harms and the wrongs that happen within our communities. There has to be a militia assembly to address the organization of protection and assistance to our communities. And there has to be an international business assembly on our states to be able to do business outside of our state borders.
Yeah, but I don't understand that. So maybe you didn't really answer my question. Let me ask it a little bit more simpler. So if we're going to, you're saying you want to form grand jury, so you form the grand jury, and then your findings are not recognized by the government, but you have a militia. And then if it's not being recognized by the government, would you not go out and enact in your findings that we the people find inside of the grand jury to be held liable for, or whatever it is that we find?
Okay, so what you have to realize is the jurisdictions.
Would we not be inside of
they're commercial, but they're commercial, and we're living. They're an entity, and we're people. There's 2 different.
So Titus, are you
up until this point in time, they have.
I'm asking if
you
you have a grand jury and you indict somebody and you find these people guilty, and the government says, no, we don't find these people guilty of what
No,
you find.
the grand jury doesn't indict.
No, a grand jury doesn't find them guilty. A trial jury does. And I am going to have to go. So Sean, if you want to take that over, you can try to explain it to him, but I have got to go. So
thank you, Lisa. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Right.
See you,
Lisa.
Doug.
I understand it. I understand it perfectly. I'm saying, but anyways, whenever if you have a grand jury and you find something to be not right, not the way that it was supposed to be inside of your findings, the grand jury finds that they don't have the authority. A common law grand jury does not have authority at all, which means if you also have a militia, are you saying that if the government does not back the common law grand jury by the people and their findings, are you going to enact this militia? And if you don't, then what's the point of having the grand jury if it has no backbone? And then if you do enact the militia, you can't do that because then that's violating U.S. Constitution. I mean U.S. Code of that violates the U.S. Code, and everybody knows that a militia can't be enacted unless it's by the state governor.
May I, Titus?
Yeah, go ahead.
So are you status corrected? Have you done your paperwork, or are you a U.S. citizen?
What do you mean? No common law has
Okay.
has ever passed in any
Hold
Supreme
on.
Court.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
You got to have a little context here before you interrupt me, okay?
Yes, I'm a citizen.
So So just bear with me and let me explain a few things. So there's three jurisdictions that you don't really, we were never taught about, right? And it's land, air, and water, right? Now think about that. Take the first letter. That says law. That's where law gets derived from. Land jurisdiction, air jurisdiction, and a water jurisdiction. Okay, so we have three constitutions that we were never taught about. One is our original constitution, which is the land jurisdiction. And then we have the territorial, which is the water jurisdiction. And then we have the municipal, which is the air jurisdiction. So, and those are actually contracts, right? That formed the government that you're talking about now in the codes and statutes, which really doesn't apply to the living. It applies to paper corporations, right? We created corporations for the benefit of man, right? But ultimately we created them. Now, hold on just a second. If you look at your driver's license, you'll notice that your driver's license is all caps. Your name is spelt in all caps. Is that the way they taught you in school, how to spell your name? So why do your credit cards come in all caps? Why does every contract you have, your deed for your car, why is your name in all caps? Why is your birth certificate in all caps? Only corporations use all capital letters. So they made a corporation for you at birth that you are unaware of in an undisclosed contract. They turned you into a 14th Amendment citizen without your knowledge. If you were born anywhere in one of the 50 states, then your nationality is wherever you were born. So I was born in Minnesota. I'm a Minnesotan, right? Have you ever wondered why when a Chinese person comes over here into our country, they're a Chinese national? Have you ever wondered why when a German comes over here, they're a German national? But whenever we go to Germany or we go to China, we're US citizens. Shouldn't we be American nationals?
Okay, but I don't understand how that answers my question at all. Now, I understand that
Well-
you did go off on a little bit of a rant, but I would like to have my question answered on if you have a
Okay.
grand jury
All right.
and we find find that there that something is and the government does not find that to be true, how do we back it? Matter of fact, let's just say this. We create the grand jury. How does anything backed at all? What is it backed with? Is it backed with the militia that you're also assuming that we create? And then if it is, how do you get away from being labeled as a terrorist?
Well, first of all, right, if you're not doing anything illegal in their eyes, right, and you're standing on the foundation of all of the laws that were put in place for the living, right, then you're not breaking any codes and statutes. And for two, when you actually get enough states,
Can you give me an example
like,
of where this could happen, where the grand jury would be in effect and that something would happen and the government says, no, we don't agree
Okay.
with your findings.
okay,
So give me an
So-
example of that. on
so
how
let's
that would-
say we have enough states in one postal area, right,
Mhm.
to pull together a postal area court. And
Yep.
let's say we already know we have several Supreme Court cases in the past that give us the right to travel. But yet when
Mhm.
you get pulled over, right, they automatically assume you're driving because it's, if you look up the law for driving, it's a commercial term, which means you're making money on the roadways, right? But they've lumped you in as a US citizen. If you look at the law says a US citizen upon leaving Washington, D.C. automatically becomes involved in commerce. So they automatically assume that you're in commerce and you have a driver's license to show. And you've already checked all the boxes that you're a US citizen. So you're under their assumption that you're a US citizen. So let's say American status corrected, right? They've put their paperwork in, they've notified them that we're not US citizens. We got our state's assemblies up. We get together a postal area court, right? And now we decide we are going to insert our right to travel based on all of the historical laws that we have, right? and we come together and we make this decision. Then we notice all of the state corporate entities in all of the postal area and across the 50 states. And then they have to change that and start recognizing that we have the right to travel. And if they don't,
And if they don't,
well, that's where getting together and getting the Continental Congress back up in play is. They walked out, you know, right at the Civil War. But the only way to do it correctly is to get your assemblies up and going and everybody coming together, right? It's a government for the people, by the people, right? And then we got lots of hands up, so maybe they got answers too for you. So we'll let them,
yeah.
Anybody that wants to respond to Titus?
Dustin, go ahead.
Another way to think about it, I think, is I understand what you're asking about the grand jury and what happens if the grand jury finds somebody needs to bring somebody in before the court, right? So we need to set up the court. So we have the court set up. We bring somebody in before the court to have their day in court, right? Somebody's being there's a controversy. Somebody's being accused of one thing or another, and they need to have their day in court. So let's say we need to gather them up. Then you would send the sheriff out to pick them up and bring them in before the court, if I'm not mistaken. That's how the accountability would come for them to come before. Because I understand you're saying how, you know, the grand jury needs to bring somebody in. You're saying that the de facto government is not recognizing that finding. So how do we hold this person accountable? And to hold them accountable, I believe that's another way to look at it. If I'm not mistaken, maybe someone else has another insight that I just wanted to speak on it since I had it in my mind. I yield.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yes, and I understand, but I do want to say you do understand that the grand jury does not have judiciary power. They only have investigation power whenever it comes to
Hold
what
on,
you're speaking of
Titus.
in common law. What you're
Hold on,
speaking of
Titus.
in common law. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. Debbie is next in line. Go ahead, Debbie.
Okay. So are you familiar with the Declaration of Independence?
Oh yeah, I got it right here.
Okay. Can you go to it and find it where it's the right of the people to alter or abolish or institute a new government in it?
Oh, I'm familiar with it.
You're familiar with that,
What about
right?
it? Yes.
Okay. I'm just asking if you're familiar with it because this is going to piece the puzzle
Yes, I'm
together.
very familiar with it.
All right. So you do realize that the Constitution is a service contract, right?
I understand that the Constitution is a contract.
Okay. For the governments to operate how they need to operate, correct?
I agree.
They have
Okay.
18
So-
enumerated services.
Stop. Give me a second, Sean.
Go ahead.
So has this, right? Okay, so it's a contract. So do people, Sean, you interrupted my thought. It's okay. So with that we know that that's their box that they're supposed to be in, correct? They have their marching orders they're supposed to be doing by the people, for the people, but have they usurped and overreached on you in any way, Titus?
Who is they?
The government, your municipalities, your counties, or any of that, have they overreached in any way or caused harm, or you had to pay fees or fines because you got a driving ticket versus traveling, even if you were going to the grocery store and you were a little late and babies needed diapers?
I agree that there's many overreaches inside of the government.
So
in many
the step,
different ways.
so we all have had that overreach, right? So we're going to take it a little bit further, right?
Okay.
When you're asking
I'm
where
listening.
the authority comes from the General Assembly, right? You're asking where our authority comes from and a state. So
I
you
did ask
can't
that.
just, okay, well, it's about authority. You asked if a grand jury says that somebody's accused and you use the term indictment, which we don't do, who gets the marching orders, right? You say if somebody caused harm and you prove that they caused harm and you create a solution for that harm, or however, you asked, do we sign that off to the militia, right? You are asking, what if they don't listen to it, what do we do? All right. When you're not seated, AKA having proper elections, because elections and representation of your state in seatment is where authority comes from our court to their court jurisdictionally. Okay, so this is the importance of this call, was to have and answer these questions. All 50 states are in session and working through the process. Multiple states have gone through proper elections on their states, and we have our gosh darn representation covered through history of the Declaration of Independence, through the original Constitution, through the education, through all the things. Tennessee has a Southwest Ordinance. Before we were a territory before we got to statehood. We were all self-governing and was by the people for the people. Okay, so the history will teach you and show you the progression of how that all goes. But because of that statement within the Declaration of Independence and having proper elections and filling vacated public offices that have been left abandoned, that's where our voice comes from as a body politic.
But you do realize that part inside of the Constitution has never been in effect because that hasn't happened yet. So whenever we have not recreated a new form of government, and that's not necessarily what we're trying to do right here. I'm listening to what y'all are trying to do, and what I get from everything that's being talked about is that y'all are trying to form militias and grand juries, and I'm saying that the grand jury has no power, and if it don't have no power, how do you give it power? It seems like you're trying to give it power with the militia. No matter what, you can't just, so I don't understand what the militia would be for and how the grand jury just
They're
spontaneously receives
peacekeepers.
power
They go
whenever
out
don't.
and
You look at
they go
Williams,
out when they're
the United States versus Williams. If you look at that, then you see that the common law grand jury don't have any power inside of that regard. And whenever you look at different things like the U.S. Code 246, and it talks about exactly that. So I don't understand. I don't
maybe
understand
this isn't
what we do with
okay.
that.
Go ahead, Diana.
Thank you. Yes, so all the states are in different stages of setting up our true governance. There are 5, 6, or 7 that are way further ahead than the others. Okay, we're all in various stages of resetting up the government by the people for the people. All right, now there is not a grand jury in our I won't have the right wording for that. We do not have a grand jury up at this point. Okay. The other courts will come first, if I'm understanding correctly. Anybody, please correct me if I say something wrong. Okay. Don't hesitate. All right. So the point is that we need people who are willing to partake in their government, because that was our original position. That was our original duty as Americans, was to be the ones who self-governed and did that together. All right. We gave away our opportunity so that the U.S. government could take care of the immigration end of things. All right. And our resource end of things, if I understand correctly as well. However, as everyone else has said, all of that has been usurped and the boundaries have been way stepped over. All right. So it's not that this is something that is just beginning to be put back into place. There are many that have been rebuilding this all along and holding the framework and adding to it. And that's where we are. That's what we're doing. We're not a place of arguing. We seek to do it civilly, meaning we take turns. So our normal operation is a person raises their hand like this, they get called upon and they speak. We get 3 to 5 minutes to speak, and then we stop and let the next person go. All right, or even if it's less than that. So that's just the round table portion of it. for comprehension. But for what you're asking is a huge question that encompasses so many different angles that are not all in place, but yet the procedures are, right? But the people to operate all those procedures are not. Sean, please.
Yeah, Titus
but
should look. Titus
I
should.
understand what you're saying, but you keep referencing y'all call it a court and stuff like that. And I'm telling y'all that if you look at the law, all you got to do is go through and see how different people has ruled on these different things. You only have investigative power. You don't have the power to act as a court. And even doing so, calling yourself that and going as far to say that you have the ability to hold people liable and stuff like that, like the language that y'all been using inside of legal terms.
You muted yourself, Titus. Sorry.
I was muted. Can have you landed as a terrorist in different forms, a digital terrorist,
Okay.
and even whenever you look at, I'm talking about from the FBI. I mean, this is how they look at things like that, and whenever because it looks like you're creating a government within the government, it's creating this us versus them mentality. And
You muted yourself again.
You muted yourself
host has
again.
muted
Okay.
you.
So
It says
hold
at the
on.
bottom, the host has muted you. But
We do-
anyways,
Oh,
also, so I don't understand basically how it is that y'all I
Okay.
think y'all are just a little bit confused on that point right there on what the
Okay.
grand jury actually
We
has to
understand,
if they're created by.
Titus, my love. We understand your question and we understand your query. All right. And there are many questions within there. But remember, the point of discussion is to ask one question, okay, and allow a response to be heard and understood and put in with the rest. Okay, so hold on. All right. So we have, when we are following the Declaration of Independence, the first Constitution, which is the true standing of the people for the people. All right, we have our strength and authority behind us. And there is nothing that is being done by anyone that goes against those points. And when we stand in those points together as numbers, which we are building state by state, and as soon as we get to 9 states, we will be able to stand against all of the US government and their usurpation together.
So you see how that sounds combative, right?
Yes, no, because we're
Titus,
not
hold on,
doing
hold on,
it
Diana, hold on,
together.
hold
Yes.
on, hold on. So Titus, you've asked the question and everyone is trying to help respond to your questions. So the deal is that again, they've said it multiple times, every state is in different stages. So we have to take that time to build up each state. Right now, it is hard to combat and fight what the corporations are currently doing to every individual. So
I know, but what I'm saying is it sounds like you're saying we're trying to build up to the point to where we have the ability to overthrow the United States government. And that's what I'm saying. It sounds like you're saying.
okay, Titus, so why did you come today?
Oh, I came because I was asked by multiple people to attend this, and I thought that I would listen because I thought that maybe y'all was constitutionalist and y'all believed in this book right here, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution.
And we do believe in that, but we believe in free
Okay.
governance. We believe in taking back
I do
and
too.
bringing back into the rightful governance of self-governing people.
I believe in doing it legally, though.
individuals.
Legally, yes.
But okay, Titus, I'm gonna call this for now. Maybe we need to get together offline because we're gonna
so
allow
nobody
other
can answer my
people to
question?
join in and
Yes.
have conversations.
We can. Hold on. All right. Sean, please, if you would. Thank you, Belinda. Hold on just a moment.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's a difference between legal and lawful. And also, here's a Supreme Court case for you. It's
Okay.
Ex parte Milligan, 1866, right?
Mhm.
And it's a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case that ruled the trial of civilians by military tribunals is unconstitutional in states where civilian courts are open and functioning. Okay? We haven't had civilian courts since before the Civil War. So
That's not true. You do realize that the jury nowadays are literally called upon and they're made up of the citizens of the United States of America.
Correct, right?
Yeah,
Citizens. Now look up the legal definition of citizen. Okay, so think about this, right?
So are you saying you're not an American?
If you're sovereign, right? A king is
Are you an
sovereign.
American?
A king is sovereign, right?
A
A
king
king
is
has
sovereign.
subjects or citizens,
I'm listening.
right?
Teach me something.
A king has subjects or citizens. Citizens owe an obligation to the government or an obligation to the king, right? They are not sovereign. The king is the ultimate sovereign, right? We were supposed to be sovereign on our own land in America, right? You can't be sovereign and a citizen at the same time. That's an oxymoron.
No, but we also are the United States of America, not the divided states of America. The founding fathers didn't suspect us to go rogue and create our own government on our own land as every single individual and be separate like that. That's why you got the Constitution that gives the state its powers and the federal government the power, and it talks about different localizations and different things like that whenever it comes to people's responsibility and duties of
Titus.
being.
You're
Yeah, go ahead.
correct, but there's three constitutions, right? So when you say U.S. code, right? U.S. code is for the United States and that constitution and that entity, that contract, right? Look at the Civil War. The Continental Congress walked out, correct? They represented the 1787 Constitution. That's one jurisdiction, land. They provided another constitution, which is the 1789, which was for the Brits to provide services on, provide security for our shipping. And then we gave them 10 square miles, right, to do business on our shores called Washington, D.C. Otherwise, why would they be a state? That's an enclave. But you really have to go back and read the history in order to understand it. Because right now you're looking at everything from a legal standpoint, right? That's legalese. Those are codes and statutes.
Which don't apply to us. And Sheriff Andrew, would you please, you had your hand up, if you would continue, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I did. I heard Titus say a few things, and it's good to see that you're studying up, Titus. But there is this is difficult. It's new to a lot of people. But the one thing that you said that kind of I had to be like, hey, those constitutions, those three contracts that we gave, those are for our service providers. Those aren't for the people. We don't live under a constitution. Our subcontractors, our service providers, that's for them. That's one of the things that people have a lot of, grasping that concept, because everybody, I have constitutional rights. I have constitutional. Well, everybody has rights, unalienable rights. That constitution contract is just there for the service providers to protect those rights. The Constitution doesn't create any rights. God has given us our rights from day one. So that's just one thing I wanted to mention. But I'm glad to see a young man trying.
I agree with you, though, and that's the thing. I agree that God has given us our rights, but where I would say that I differ just a little bit is that I think that those rights that God gave us is being affirmed here inside of the Constitution, and obviously, you look at the Bill of Rights, and it is talking about people, and it is saying that these are the things that are given to you, ordained by the Almighty God, and we're recognizing this, and we're also extending our hand out and saying, as the United States, we recognize that these rights are given to you by the Almighty God.
Yes.
And
yeah, that's what that contract has to do. They have to, they swear an oath to uphold and protect those rights that we already have. But another thing about the grand jury, I heard you mentioning that, here in Ohio, we do have, we can convene a grand jury, but the grand jury is just for a yes or no. That's all they do. They don't have a trial. They get the evidence, and they either pass a true bill or no bill. If there's enough evidence, they go forward. And that's where the trial jury comes in. So the grand jury, a lot of people think it's an actual, well, it is a panel, but you don't really need a justice there or anything. You just need the sheriff or whoever's bringing the claim to present the evidence, and they decide whether they're going forward or not.
Right. And our service providers, if I may, the service provider is the U.S. government as a whole, totality. They are the service provider for the Americans. All right. So as a whole, they have overstepped their boundaries for over 300 years, but specifically in the last 160. And that is what is being undone lawfully, pardon me, not legally. You're speaking from the language of legal, which is not the same as lawful. So I would look up the definitions on that. And David, you had your hand up. Were you still having a question or response, if you would?
Hi there. How's everybody doing?
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. The Declaration, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Federalist Papers, they were all put together for a reason, to try and protect the people, be able to have their rights and use their rights as they needed. The current so-called government, the de facto, has overstepped those bounds. They have in fact corrupted the system. So what we are trying to do as an assembly, and an assembly in all the 50 states, is to go back to what was actually intended and written in the Declaration, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Federalist Papers. All of those four come together. You cannot look at one piece of paper and declare that's what I'm doing. You have to put them all together, because the Constitution is based on the Declaration. The Bill of Rights are based on the Constitution, and the Federalist Papers are what gave the Supreme Court and the other entities the ability to see exactly what they meant and what was supposed to happen with the other three documents. So I was happy to hear you say and show that you have the Declaration with you, the Constitution in a small handbook pamphlet. That's wonderful. So what we want to do is we want to get back to what that actually intends and what that actually means, not go through with what the corrupt government is now trying to institute among the U.S. citizens. We're trying to get everybody to be able to be free and live within their rights as was supposed to have been done in the first place. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, David. We appreciate it. Nicholas, you have your hand up next, please, if you would.
It's Nicholas, Marshal at Arms on Kentucky. Titus, I think what he was trying to ask is, like, where would we get our authority with the grand jury and stuff like that? When we, when we invest ourselves into all the assemblies and stuff, we're going to get our authority from the Federation. It's just like we, the people, put everybody in place right now. It's how they done it. How the United States government has grand jury and stuff like that is because the people elected them in. So how we're going to uphold the common law is through the Federation. When we get our courts and stuff stood up, the Federation grants us that authority. So we can uphold, because when you become a 928 citizen or a national, you become under common law. So they're not going to be able to try you in the United States courts because you're not in their jurisdiction. You see what I'm saying? So like how we get our authority and our power to like judge you will be in common court.
But would you agree that would you agree that no one's ever won any form of common law inside of anywhere ever?
No.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely false. Yeah, there's been several court cases where there's a gentleman that we're in contact with, Belinda, I think you remember his name. He's won cases where they've tried to pull him over and give him tickets for driving, and he beat it in court and won a big major lawsuit. And he stands on that, and he's pretty proud of it, and so that's kind of what got us our motivation to understand that we're not driving because we're not traveling in the commercial capacity. We're actually traveling in a private automobile. And so there's like a major difference in that. And that's what, when we get our court stood up, if their jury trial tries to say we're guilty, it goes to common law courts, and then we can prove that we were traveling, gets dismissed. So like I said, our authority is going to come from the Federation once our court
Can you
trial
point me to that where someone has won that exact claim that you're saying under sovereign citizens? Because I've studied it for
We're
a
not
long time.
sovereign
We're not sovereign
I've actually-
citizens.
Yeah, we're
See
not
that,
sovereign.
Titus? That's where you're.
No, I'm saying the claim that he just claimed is what sovereign
Okay,
citizens
but you're
do
calling
claim.
it sovereign. No,
I
sovereign
didn't call it
citizens
that.
don't do
I
that.
said that's where. What'd you say?
That sovereign citizens is an oxymoron. None of us claim to be sovereign citizens. So if you look up
I didn't say you
laws
claim to be a
surrounding,
sovereign citizen. I said that what he just claimed is what sovereign citizens do fight all the time inside of court and has never won. And I'm asking, can you give me a point? Can you show me where anyone
right here,
has won?
me.
You have?
I beat them. I had it all dismissed. It took me 2 years, but I had to get it dismissed because here's the thing. We have that right now. You're trying to get us to nail down something right on the head. There's many people who has used this, but here's the thing. The way the court systems are set up right now, it does not recognize our jurisdiction. No one has claimed that there's 100% good to go situation. When it comes to claiming your rights and standing up for your rights and knowing what is right, we have the laws. Even their own UCC codes is wrong on the books and has contradictions. That's anywhere. So the whole claim is when you're pulled over and you say that you're traveling in your private automobile and they harass you and they give you the tickets, so you go to court. You can file all the paperwork. You can do everything you want to do, or you can basically not show up. There's a lot of people who do it. I cannot give you their names right off the top of my head, but I know myself, I fought that way from the very beginning. And because those courts do not recognize a lot of things, they don't want to listen to your paperwork, they don't want to accept your paperwork, you have to turn around and use their own laws and UCC codes against them that also go back to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all of it. Every bit of it is in the courts. You just have to know how to utilize that information in a courtroom. And it's not easy. I will tell you, it took me 2 years in Bullitt County, Kentucky to do that. It's there. There is plenty of paperwork out there. There's plenty of laws that done it. I did it all by myself. Every bit of it.
May I?
Oh, so you want a common law case inside of the county that you just said that you did?
It's not common law. They don't recognize common law. Common law has to be done in an Article III court. That's where we are right now.
But you won a case saying that you weren't
a U.S. citizen. I don't claim to be a U.S. citizen. I claim to be an American state national.
No, but his claim was about traveling on the roads.
Yeah, look up. Hey, Titus, look up Richard Martin. Write down Richard Martin and look up his court case. And that's going to blow your mind, because he's won it. Like I say, he's the guy that I was trying to tell you that won the big lawsuit from, claiming driving versus travel.
He's won 6 or 7, but I think we're getting completely off topic. Debbie, did you have your hand up, or Sean? Which somebody had their hand up?
Joe.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So he's wanting Supreme Court cases that prove this. You can Google this. It's all over the internet. You can. There's I don't know how to pronounce that. Sayins versus Roe. There's all kinds. That's a very good question. When you do your research and you go find the truth, that these are actual Supreme Court cases. What does the Supreme Court? Everybody on the call, unmute. What does the Supreme Court do?
Interpret law.
No, that's amateur. What does the Supreme Court do? Somebody. It's the supreme law of the land.
That's the Constitution.
It upholds the Constitution.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Everybody has part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So the thing of it is when you start researching this and you get into the history and you start comprehending, okay, just not hearing to respond. Right now, there's a lot of hearing to have a response. You have very valid questions, But when you get in there and you go into the Supreme Court rulings, you look up Ex parte Milligan, really decipher that. Okay. And start comprehending what we're trying to explain to you. We want you to come back. Come back in a couple weeks. Tell us
I'm
what you
listening. I promise
found.
you, I comprehend everything that
Yeah,
you're saying because
share
I've
with
studied
you.
it for a long time. I've worked with different organizations and I most definitely understand exactly what you're saying. I don't see much different. Y'all might as well get with Tactical Civics and start talking with them too because they're
No,
doing the same thing.
Okay,
But
Titus, we're not an organization, first of all. We're not incorporated.
I didn't say you was an organization. I said I've worked with a lot of organizations that's doing
Okay.
exactly what you're doing. I never called you an organization, but I do understand. Go on.
Yes, understand. I was just clarifying. And Sean, you have your hand up, please, if you would. And then we're going to call
May I
this.
ask what are y'all? If you're not an entity or organization, what are y'all?
living people.
Right.
Oh,
We're
no, I'm talking about
Americans.
group. It says assembly. It says Kentucky Assembly. And I was invited to come to a town hall. Usually halls are held by groups
Held by the
of
people.
that.
Right. That's us. Groups of people. We're the group of people.
Oh, but y'all have no name, so it's a no entity. So
We're the
y'all are just
Kentucky.
people
We're
together.
Are the
gathered.
Kentucky Assembly. Go ahead,
Yes,
John.
that is the
Oh, so
name.
y'all are the Kentucky Assembly. Okay.
We
Yeah.
are the Kentucky Assembly.
Okay, I don't understand why that was so hard to answer, but thank you. Okay.
On the
Unincorporated.
title. Unincorporated.
Awesome.
So
I'm Titus Willis, unincorporated.
there's a book
Oh.
called, it's on Amazon. It's called You Know Something Is Wrong, an American Affidavit of Probable Cause. It's $25 and it basically explains all of the history. And if you get that book, you will completely understand what has happened. It explains the history, the who's, the whys, the where's, the when's.
Nice. Okay, so Titus, did you get the name of that book so you can check that out and the other information that we've all gathered here today, if you would. And we are going to call this because we're running a little
Yes,
behind.
I got all of this stuff, and I also been researching while we've been talking about the Richard Martin case, and almost every single thing that he's
Okay.
ever took to court, he lost.
Hold on. No, he's won.
I'm
He's
looking
got
at it
stuff
right
out there.
now. I've read 4 different cases so far, and every single one of them he's lost. He's even went to jail and multiple times, and so I'm confused. That was a bad example to use.
Okay, Titus, we've met with Rick Martin, and Rick Martin has won several of his cases, and he has lost some too. So we're not saying
Okay,
that,
yeah.
but there's a lot of stuff that you can't just look up some of the case laws that they were telling you about. Go ahead and
I
look up.
understand that, but what I'm saying, if I was a
Titus.
young person that didn't know anything and I joined y'all's live tonight, y'all could have brought me into something that y'all are not completely for sure about either. So I just say that I want y'all to research yourself. I understand y'all told me to research, but you
Okay.
don't know who I am,
All right,
I guess, or
Titus.
you know that I have researched. I know the Constitution like the back of my hand. I know the Declaration of Independence. I know everything that y'all are talking about. 1786
Then why don't you live by it?
Ratified in 1788.
Yes.
I do live by it.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
And
No.
now you mute me.
Right.
Yes, because
this
other
is
people need to
not-
talk.
This is not how we talk, Titus. This is not how we have a conversation together. All right? We don't respond like that. Do you hear any one of us responding that way to anyone else? No, we don't do that. Even though someone else may say something oppositional, we don't do that. Okay?
All communication.
It's about respect. It's about accountability. It's about decorum. It's about honor. It's about a lot of things, and it's about heart. And knowing a bunch of words being memorized is not the same as walking them into place in your life every day.
But I
Okay?
agree.
All right.
You
Well,
should
we
stand in
thank you,
truth.
Titus, for everything because you
If I
made
notice
this.
something, I'm going.
You made this interesting. You gotta wait, my love. Right?
Patience is a virtue.
Right? You gotta wait. Okay. So you have made this very interesting, and we do appreciate your heart to learn. All right. But we do have to call this for the day. These people have been very gracious of their time. All right. But everything has its moment. But we will be back again and we will let you know. We will post the link and let you know. Okay? We promise. We thank you, friends, for every. Oh, Sean, did you have something else to say? I apologize.
Yeah, Article 1, Section 8.
No.
And then, brother, we want to see you back. So
Yeah.
come on back, learn a little more, and you know the discussion is great, and it's been wonderful being here. Thanks for the invite, guys.
Thank
Well,
you.
next time,
Great
I
friends.
really hope that we can have a great conversation without, you know, muting me and cutting me off and not allowing me just to have a coherent conversation based on
Okay.
intellectual honesty. I feel like y'all was a bit intellectually dishonest and wasn't supporting freedom of speech.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we hope that
Okay.
when you come back that you will
Y'all
follow
just muted me
our
again, and I got the
decorum
whole thing
rules of
recorded, and
our
I'm posting this
house.
everywhere. So I hope y'all don't think that
Titus.
y'all are just gonna be able
We
to. I don't know what y'all think this is. This is
Look.
crazy. Like, let a young man speak.
A
I'm a
co-
young American. Can
Love
I
you,
not speak?
friends.
A
We'll see you
God bless you
conversation
later.
all.
is
Y'all
We'll
have a
work
great
on
day.
decorum.
I
a
hope
You
y'all invite me
conversation
back.
is two ways. A conversation is two ways.
Okay.
He's
Well,
gone.
we'll see that on the internet somewhere.
Woo!
Okay. Stop the recording for a second if you don't mind.
Sorry, guys. I knew it was going to be interesting because I knew that was part of it, but not
That's
to that
okay.
extent. So
That's how
thank
we
you
learn.
very much for being here because we would not have.